Ahmed and colleagues, hello, and thanks for sending me all those questions. Rather than make a laborious written sort of exchange, what I thought I'd do is record this video, which I do often. Just I find it easier to talk than I do to type for whatever reason that might be. So what I'm going to do is go through your questions just now, and hopefully that will give you just a little bit more information, somehow bring this proposal to life. So if it's okay with you, I am going to share my screen. So here you should have on your screen that here, 1 second. Okay, so here we go, that'll be better. Right, so ideal decision makers messaged each month. How would I figure out who the right people are to contact each month? Is because your industry is very competitive, and that's something I get a lot. And the answer to that is, do you remember I was saying this is a very much a front-loaded a proposal where I work with you and whomever you want to be the day-to-day person on this, and I have a sort of particular questioning technique where I uncover what your best possible client is, and there's normally more than one. There's normally between 3 and 5 ideal customers, and been in sales 35 years, and so I guess over those years I've refined and I understand how to get to the ideal customer. It's just, yeah, that's me. So the answer to the question is, who would I figure out who the right people are, is once I understand who you're aiming at, excuse me, who you're aiming for, and we do that a number of different ways, primarily also by case studies, stuff where you think we won that project, we want to win more projects like this. That would be really, really good. Okay, so that's how I would go about that. Now, once I've identified the kind of company, sector, size of company, and all of that, then I use Sales Navigator, and that's my primary tool here. I use Sales Navigator to zero in on the right kind of people. I create lists. None of this is particularly scientific, but I've just got a lot of experience in how I do this. I have a number of people that I work with me, but I oversee all client work. And it just helps me more productive, keeps prices down, because my day rate is quite expensive. And I pride myself in delivering, great customer service. Anyway, so first question is, that's how I target the right people in the account. Next question, how can I make you stand out from others? Really important question, because you said it's very competitive, your industry. Um, that's part of my questioning technique, and to be honest, that's also part of your thinking. You will always know more about your business than I will know about your business. But my job is to ask you the right questions. It's called Socratic questioning. Comes after Socrates, the famous philosopher, and it's about asking questions that gets the customer to think about, well, actually, it's a good point. What is it that makes us stand out? And my experience will bring that out for you. And only when we've got to a point where we understand what makes you different, then I can start putting in place a form of messages, a form of words, which are going to land with particular prospects that we've already decided we want to target. So that's how I make you stand out from others. Okay, next question is, how are there any tools or software I use to help us reach out to you? Right. So I identify people through Sales Navigator. I have an automation platform, which, if you don't mind, I'm going to keep confidential. But I have an automation platform that literally automates sending of LinkedIn messages to the right people that have already decided, etc. It's really important that I kind of automate it, but I automate it within very strict parameters. That means because it means me taking over your company or your individual LinkedIn profiles, if you like, because otherwise I'm adding connections to my profile, which is not what you want. You want connections added to your profile, so it enriches your activity on LinkedIn. So that's the tools and the software that I use. It just makes me more efficient, but it's important to know that there's a human being in control of the messaging, the really important parts of this. And I use AI for the more mundane and automation for the more mundane parts that actually don't need human oversight. And again, that keeps costs down. Okay, right. So what's next? Here we go. Right. So dink, dink. There we go. So how do I, right, so follow-ups to all contacts that connect but don't respond, yeah. And how do I make sure that we keep in touch with those people? So first of all, you're right. I can create a great message with a great differentiator and a great messaging sequence. However, I can't, without going into that person's office and knocking on the door, I cannot make someone read it. But it's skill and expertise and psychology and interesting messages that resonate because we've already done the intellectual work up front, which is why the minimum of 3 months, so that we maximize the chance, the probability that someone does accept our invitation request and engage in a messaging sort of process. But there are two things going on here, Ahmed and colleagues. There's our sales process or my sales process, and there's the customer's buying process. And if we try selling when the customer's not ready to buy, that's going to cause frustration and conflict, and they're going to become they're not going to like you for doing that because they've got a day job to do. So how do we make sure we keep in touch with people who are interested in our service ultimately and may buy in the future, but not right now, is we put them into a pipeline, a CRM system. And I'll be interested to know if you already have a CRM or are you in the process of creating one. But we would do what we call nurture those contacts, and I could advise you on that when we get a little bit more detail. But it's basically a way that you can keep in touch with these customers, keep them on the back burner, so to speak, so that we can maximize the chances that when they are in the market, then we're in touch with them and we can maximize our chances of selling to them when they are ready to buy. Okay, what's next? Yes, okay, so conversation management and how I keep track of conversations. And this is where it's really important that there's human oversight, is because it's for someone who's been around the block a bit, it's obvious when I'm interacting with a bot. Um, and people generally don't like that. Even IT people, computer people, prefer interacting with humans. And I'm that's really, really important. So how do I keep track of it? Well, I keep track of it because Sales Navigator helps me keep track of it, and I will pin or star particular and prioritize particular conversations that are going. somewhere, and I use my skill and experience in understanding, okay, so these people are not ready to buy now, and we'll do something with those, and I'll talk you through that near the time. But these people are in a process, and we can work with them. So the answer is basically I'll oversee that, and that's called conversation management. It's about prioritizing, and it's about responding in a human form. I may have to, because I might get asked some quite technical questions which you would not reasonably expect me to know the answer to. I'll answer many of them, but there are going to be some that I have to come back to you and your colleagues and seek specific responses. And then at the right time, I can introduce you or your subject matter experts to pick up the opportunity with the customer and have a one-to-one conversation with them. Okay, hope that answers that particular question. Let's see what's next. Okay, right. So coaching to help you close priority opportunities. Okay, so hopefully I've covered a bit of this already. Would I be helping you close leads by joining the calls with us? I'm happy to do that. I wasn't necessarily, it's not actually included in the quotation, but actually I do this as a mentoring piece for lots of other individuals, and I'm happy to, but obviously that's not particularly cheap. And I may join one or two if I get time, in good faith that we keep the relationship going, but it's going, simply it's time for money, and you're going to have to make a judgment call on whether you've got the budget for that. Okay. Second question on this slide: what features can we expect in my sales coaching? Not quite sure what that means, but first of all, when I work with you, sales coach or mentor you through a process, I would hope you or your business development people will be learning loads from my 35 years in the industry. And I love doing this kind of work as well, because I'm not sat in my ivory tower, so to speak, sort of casting out my wisdom. I'm just not like that. I like being at the front end, or at the coal face of selling here, because it does a number of things. First of all, it keeps me sharp. I understand what's going on in the market and the kind of dynamics and resistance that some customers can get from engaging in a sale, and again, use my skills and experience, if you like, to navigate our way around those issues. So I suppose if there are any features that come out of sales coaching, that would be it. What I would also say is I tend to record conversations, particularly one-to-one if it's me and you, and I'll upload those to my YouTube channel. Clearly not for public, it will be an unlisted recording, and you will get the link to that, and anyone else that you forward the link to internally can also view that recording too. So that's a really useful function, because sometimes we'll go over stuff and you might think to yourself, oh, what was it Keith said about the next steps, or whatever it happens to be. You can refer to that recording if you choose. It's many of my clients believe that's a really helpful kind of service. Okay, right, next. 5 times the outreach of gold package. That's true. So for the bigger package, there is 5 times, because it's 5 times the work, but not 5 times the cost. Again, because I've done much of the, should we say, the more intellectually demanding work up front. It's a front-loaded service, and so there is. I can put in place, if you like, some KPIs. I don't normally do this, but if it would help on that service, so I can show you that you're getting the right kind of outreach and the right kind of responses. Now, I must just say that if you're familiar with the expression throwing mud against the wall just to see what sticks, that doesn't work anymore in sales outreach, whether it's by LinkedIn or any other medium. It's about personalized. It's about speaking to people directly about their issues. It's not at some level it's a numbers game, but only after you've been through the questionnaire type scenarios that I was talking to you about. So you're right, to keep things personal, it's got to be about them, and it's not about chat GPT, generic terms that you can spot a mile off are not personal and are probably created by AI or other platforms. As useful as that can be, but for this, it's about people selling to other people. Okay, so what would be the approach in that scenario? Well, hopefully I'll just kind of talk you through that. It's around keeping it personal. Um, uh, it's and keeping human oversight on all of this. And we're going to get the similar number of questions coming back from potential customers, and that's going to mean that once I've learned the answer to a question, then I can reiterate that. And again, if someone comes up with a question which is very technical that I don't understand, then we can decide. I'll let you know about that. We can decide if someone's going to engage, or just copy and paste me an answer to that so I can get involved with it. Or perhaps that's the time to set up a call between you and the prospect or the potential customer. Right, what's next? There we go. There we go. Right, so making sure every prospect gets eyes on offering and maximizing outreach. Okay. How do you make sure messages get through to people's inbox? Okay, well then specifically what I'm doing here is we're going through LinkedIn. Yeah, we're going through LinkedIn. So it's not an email campaign. There are other companies that run email campaigns, which you can reach out to as an alternative. I believe I've got a process that works for most people most of the time. So it's replicatable, it's repeatable, and I've also found that in terms of LinkedIn, most people of any particular seniority, a CIO or a marketing director or whomever your normal type of contact is in a client account, and it might be multiple different business functions that you have to approach in order to win a particular deal. Most people run their own LinkedIn accounts themselves, unless it's the chief executive of Tata or BP or something, where they have their own backup office running their LinkedIn account. I know that because I know Bernard Looney at BP, and I've messaged with him before. So that's how I make sure that messages are getting through to their inbox. It's because we're doing it through LinkedIn, and I've got a process that maximizes the chances of it getting there. And given that messaging, vocabulary, the way to articulate issues just maximizes the chances of them engaging. Does it work 100% of the time? Of course not. Nothing works 100% of the time. Does it work a high percentage of the time? Yes, I think it does. And in terms of value for money, yes, I believe it's value for money. Well, I would say that. Are there any tools or techniques you use to help us make our outreach more effective? Well, I'll be doing, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, I'll be doing that outreach. Basically, once we've had the conversation and we've done all that upfront work, then I will just, diligently go about our business of doing outreach for you, uncovering leads, getting you involved at the right time. I'll do all the initial stuff, but you'll effectively pick up the leads when they're warm and they want to engage with you directly. So those are my tools. Sales Navigator, my automation platform, must stress remains confidential, but I have high trust in it. And then it's around human activity, skills, and experience to make the outreach more effective. So I think that is the last of the questions. Let me stop sharing just then. So there we go. Right. So I hope that kind of makes sense, Ahmed. Anything else? Drop me an email in response to this. I'll send you the link very shortly. But I look forward to speaking to you in due course, and I hope this satisfies kind of what you're after. Okay. All right. All the best then, and I hope to speak really soon.